What's up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, welcome back. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, welcome. My name is Raffinée. Thank you for joining us. If you've been here before, welcome back. So glad to have y'all. Now, I gotta say this, and some of you that have been here before, you've heard me say this. But Too Busy is my weekly series where I share things that I no longer have time or energy for. Now, the topics are broad and wide, and we have talked about a whole lot of things over the course of the season. And I think this is going to be a great wrap up to Too Busy for this season and having my final guest. Now, the disclaimer I like to give before we jump into all of this is that just because I'm too busy or just because my guest is too busy does not mean you also have to be too busy. So the beautiful thing about all of this is that you get to pick and you get to decide. So we're just kind of sharing things that we've learned from our journey that we have decided, you know what? I don't have time for this. I don't have energy for this. This is not serving me well. This is not best suited for me anymore. But you get to decide what makes sense for your life. Okay. Now, I am super, super excited about my guest for tonight because if you follow me on social media, you probably saw that I posted yesterday and also today that Danielle was going to be here. And y'all, I have learned so much from Danielle in the last year and a half. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Danielle, but like I legit have. I am really grateful that our paths crossed. Um, and it has just been amazing. And so I don't want to belabor the time and talk about my experience because I want the people to really get a chance to hear from you. But I just felt like I needed to tell you that. Like
Oh, thank you for
I
that.
I remember I had this one vivid memory yesterday of doing your listen to your body for, was it a 4 week I think experience?
Uh-huh.
And I remember coming in there and I told you, I was like, Danielle, I really want to make sure that I do this for me and that I don't do this for the sole purpose of helping my clients. Now, if they benefit from it later, great. But like, I really want to focus on me. And that was an incredible experience for me. And I still do some of that stuff that we talked about in that series. I probably need to go back and watch it again, but I find myself thinking about like, what did we talk about in that class? And what are some things that are helpful? And I've talked to my friends. I'm like, you need to hum right now, or maybe you need to like do a little shaking so that you can calm your nervous system. But for real, like that stuff has been a game changer for me. For real. For real, for real. So
I love to hear it. Yes.
thank you. Um, now can you say hey to the people? Tell them a little bit about you because I'm over here raving about you, but some of them may not know who you are.
Yes. Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I am Danielle Anderson. I call myself a trauma informed speaker, wellness advocate, yoga instructor, and yoga and a fitness instructor, and doula. And so, my heart is to communicate, to teach practices that help people to grow in whole health, what I refer to as emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health. And I do that for two primary reasons. One, so we can experience just more abundant life to the full, and
Yeah.
two, so we can grow as agents of healing in our circles of influence.
Love it, love it, love it. Listen, by the end of this, y'all gonna be wanting to look up all the things that Danielle is offering. So when Danielle and I had this conversation about Too Busy, I was like, Danielle, what are we gonna talk about? And we, I think, talked about maybe two or three things and kind of honed in on this one. And what Danielle said to me, y'all, was that she is too busy or she does not have time to not be connected to her body. So, can you tell the people a little bit about what do you mean when you say like being connected with your body? When you say that you are connected to your body?
Yeah, I mean, living very consciously of what's going on with your actual body. So that might sometimes mean listening to it or just being aware of what your body is doing. I think that in our culture, we sometimes we can be so cognitive and like mind based that
Yeah.
we don't often remember that yes, we are thinking beings for sure, but we're also embodied, feeling beings too. And so we can't forget about this body part of our design, right? So that's what I mean when I say being present, being connected to your body.
Yeah. Now, we talked a little bit about how different things impact our maybe willingness, desire, or even practice of being connected to our body. Things like culture and society and faith, even. Can we talk a little bit about like what you've seen or what you've experienced in your work and how that impacts people's desire, willingness, ability, even to be connected to their body?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely, I'll start first with speaking to the faith component. So, from my own experience, oh, sorry, one second, I just realized the low battery thing just popped up on my computer. I'm like,
Oh
how did it get
no,
unplugged? One second.
we don't want that.
No, my apologies. Thank you for that.
All
So, I'll
good.
speak to the faith-based component. So, grew up in the church, and just in that church kind of Christian Christ following culture, there is a lot there was a disconnect in church history of our minds from our bodies. Like, I don't know
Okay.
enough about church history to know exactly. I think it began maybe with Augustine, but at some point the body became lowered and almost like debased. This is the how this is where your, sinful lusts and
Mm,
passions live. We
mhm.
need to give our focus to the mind and to the spirit. And so I think you see a lot of things culturally, especially in churches, where we do all the mind stuff. We'll say like worship God with your mind. We don't often talk about
Mm,
like worshiping or connecting with God in our body.
very
And
true.
my opinion, my belief is that God in wisdom designed our body.
Mhm.
So there's, wisdom to listening to it, paying attention to it as a means to knowing God deeper, as a means to connecting with God, paying attention and really being present within our body. And then, just as I mentioned, just culturally, I'm doing a lot more, research and understanding differences between Eastern and Western cultures. And like I kind of mentioned before, the Western culture, we're very abstract. So we're gonna use words that are very abstract. We're more so in the East. There will be more concrete ideas. I'm going to go back to a God analogy. So if you ask someone in the East, what is God? Someone might say, God is my rock. God is my shelter. God is my friend. Very
Mhm.
abstract. I can put my hands on these things. But in the West, we have beautiful words, but they're very abstract. God is holy. God is
Mm,
omnipotent, right? It's like, well, I can't see that. I can't touch that. I can't feel that. So we don't often use sensory, even language sometimes. I think we use abstract things. So I just
yeah.
think in us breathing the gas of Western culture, we live in a world where we're not often being encouraged to get into our body and connect with what's actually happening in those sensory areas. And there's so much to learn from those sensory areas.
Mhm. That's really good. So how do you talked about like experiencing God in our bodies versus in our mind.
Mhm.
How do you encourage people to experience God in their bodies? Like practically, what would that mean or look like?
Yeah, one of the first go-tos for me is the breath. So
Okay.
I believe that God breathed into us the breath of life. So I believe that yes, we have a mind, yes, we have a body, but yes, we have a spirit as well. So there is a non-tangible kind of animating spirit within my body that brings this shell to life. Like I do believe in that. And so I think the breath is a beautiful tool that reminds us of the intersection between the truth that we are both spiritual beings and physical beings. We
Mm,
are spiritual beings that exist in the physical realm. We exist
yeah.
in time and space, but there's a part of us that also has existed outside of time and space. The
Mm,
scriptures say, my go-to scripture is Ecclesiastes 12:7. Like when we die, the spirit departs from the body and returns to God from which it came.
mhm,
So, anyway, back to the breath. The breath to me is a beautiful way to connect with God. So, just breathing in and out and reminding yourself of God, breathe into me the breath of life. Like this animating spirit, this animating breath
mm,
that's there connects me with my creator. That's one practical way. Other things that I'll do sometimes is sometimes I'll just like lay on a floor, I'll sit in a chair and I'll just let myself feel the sensation of being held. Maybe I have a pillow on
mm,
top of me and I just kind of feel myself in this embrace with the weight, the ounces of weight of the pillow or the or weighted blanket. And I let myself, remind myself this is my forever reality. I believe God is always with me. God is
Mm.
always holding me. I'm always held.
Yeah.
So let me give my body a chance to kind of feel that and remind myself of God's presence in every moment as often as I can.
Hmm. That's so good. I think the hustle and bustle and busy of our life also does not lend itself to something. Like when I hear you say, I lay down and put something on, I'm like, who has time to do that? And I say that in jest, but seriously, I think our lives oftentimes are so go 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 that we don't take that time to pause, to slow down, to even the point you're making of just like taking a breath. There's such power, I think, in being able to take a breath. Like I've literally seen it in action in my own life, but even as I work with my clients, like there's an example comes to mind. I had a client a few weeks ago, mixed up the time for our session. I sent them a message and was like, hey, you come to your session. They got on, was so frazzled, just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm late. Raffinée, I'm so sorry. Da, 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 da. Oh, okay, so here's what, and I was like, no. I was like, stop. And I was like, take a breath. And literally, I saw this client stop, take a breath, and I was like, let's take another breath. And I took the breath with them. And you could just almost see their demeanor completely changed. And I believe that it would have impacted the rest of our session had I
Mhm.
let that like go 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 continue versus like it's okay. Like we still have X amount of time and we are going to use that time. But
Mhm.
just slowing, I think sometimes it feels like I don't have time to pause, to take a breath or to
Mhm.
take a minute.
Mhm. And the truth is that we do. We can
Yeah.
make the time. Now I'm not saying like go lay down for 90 minutes,
Yeah.
Sometime and that's what you heard me talk about the power of the pause and things like that. But
Mhm.
literally taking those intentional moments of just pausing, even if it's 10 seconds to just breathe, if it's 10 seconds to just collect your thoughts before responding to someone, that pause is so powerful. So I love to think about pausing and slowing. I actually sent an email, you got it a few weeks ago, about the
Yeah.
practice of slowing. I think we could all benefit from intentionally thinking through ways to resist the hurriness that exists in our culture. We actually, and I, this was good for me to learn these things and be challenged to practice slowing. Because I never really thought about it. I just kind of was going along
Mm.
with the current, going along with the flow until someone challenged me to, hey, you don't have to live hurried. And then the extra challenge for those who have my same faith, they were like, and actually that hurried spirit is not really congruent with the love, joy, peace,
Mm.
patience spirit of Christ. And I was like, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
So this is probably I would say my first, probably the last 12 months, my first intentional 12 months to be mindful of practicing slowing. I've been practicing
Okay.
the pause, but throughout my day, slowing down,
Yeah.
picking the longest line at the grocery store,
Mm.
taking the street rather than the freeway, just to and it's a body practice to settle the hurry in my body. Because you
Yeah.
can feel like, you get to the stoplight and you're like, you want the car in front of you to go. And it's like, why am I so hurried? Like, why? I can calm that down. And so it's a body practice for me to kind of weave out hurry from my
Yeah.
body and from my life.
That's so good. Now, since you mentioned this, what has it been like for you to take the streets versus the highway or to pick the long line at the grocery store?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel more settled. Um, I can feel that I mean, I have a history of not being a patient person.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm growing to become a patient person where I'm
Yeah.
growing to be okay with the slowness and not have to always like fight to be on time or fight to like meet the cultural standard. Because I have a history of fighting really hard to meet the cultural standard of, being on time, but maybe at the cost of yelling at my kids or at the cost of,
Mm,
there being a disrepair in a relationship that was left that way because we were trying to hurry and get to church or hurry and
got
get
it.
somewhere. And I
Yeah.
think things are starting to become, the priorities are starting to change. I also feel like this practice of slowing has been a gift to my family and to my community and those around me. I like to think about, I do a lot of nervous system work and body work. And
Yeah.
so I like to think about my calm and regulated nervous system being a gift to those that are around me. Because when we share the same space with people, our nervous systems regulate with theirs. So I'm sure we all have experientially known that we walk in a room and you're like, I don't like how it feels, and you
Mm-hmm.
want to leave. So I
Yeah.
actually want to be a person that has one of those calm, safe, regulated nervous systems that makes you want to be okay being around me and not want to run away. So I think the slowing practice has really contributed to me having a more regulated nervous system, which I can bring into every space I'm in.
Yeah. That's so good. I'm enjoying this. This is so good. Now, Danielle, so you've not always been in this place.
No, right.
So tell us a little bit about like what was the catalyst for change for you and how you got to this place of really being connected to your body and being able to listen to what your body is saying to you.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm the proud mom of four boys. So I had four natural labors. They were fantastic. I had really great pregnancies. So in all my pregnancies, I was really good at listening to my body, feeling a kick here, noticing like, oh, my breathing is a little more labored. Let me make sure I'll talk to my midwife about that. Like I was really present then. But once the baby was born, all that stopped. And I just
Mm,
became like head first into doing all the things that a mom is supposed to do and just really became disconnected with myself.
okay.
So I already had the skill of listening to my body from pregnancy. But it actually was when I found myself in what I call the school of grief after we had a significant loss in our family, that my life was slowed down and that I began to learn a little bit more about this beautiful whole design, and that taking
Mm,
care of my mind is a way to take care of my body, and taking care of my body is a way to take care of my emotional health. And it put me on this journey. It's been almost 10 years of this slow journey of pursuing whole health and recognizing, oh man, if I'm going to take care of these kids, if I'm going to be able to actually be present for them, I'm going to have to be a little bit more present with myself. I love the quote from St. Augustine that says, Lord, help me know myself that I may know thee.
mhm.
And it's just real in my life. I have to know where I am so that I can lean into God in those spaces. So I always say, when I know that I'm sad, I can lean in and experience God as comforter. When I know that I'm
Mhm.
afraid, I can experience God as protector, as provider. But if I just go through life disconnected from my body, not being present with what I'm feeling, with what I'm dealing with, then I miss out on the help and the relief and the comfort that I actually need.
Mhm.
So it's been an almost 10-year journey of just slowly learning new things, adding new tools to my toolkit, and just growing in presence, growing and intentionally being conscious in lots of ways, not just with my body, but with my thoughts, with the narratives I believe,
Yeah.
being present with even my facial expression. Like there are times where I'm like, Danielle, fix your face. Like I have to, because I'll just subconsciously be like making a face and, just
Mhm.
it's little things, but it really is a practice of being present with whatever. But
Yeah.
for me, the common denominator, I think, of all the work that I do really is the body. As a yoga and fitness instructor, as a doula, just that body piece is there. And so I'm really passionate about people getting connected with their own bodies.
Yeah. I love that what you're saying about like when I'm feeling sad or when I'm feeling afraid, because what I find in my line of work is so often people don't want to feel those things or experience those negative
Mhm.
emotions, and I use air quotes intentionally because I don't believe they're positive or negative, they just
Agree.
are.
Agree.
And I really believe that there's such value in being able to experience the full spectrum of the emotions. And sometimes one of the things that I work with my clients on is like, even if you can't name it, what do you notice happening in your
Yes.
body?
Yes.
And so many people don't know. They're like, I don't know. And
Hmm.
so it does take some work and intentionality to what you're saying to slow down and really pay attention to like what is happening in my body. Because I think, and maybe you can attest to this, sometimes what we feel in our body becomes normal.
Hmm.
And so then we think that that is the baseline
Hmm. Hmm.
when it may not be the actual best baseline for
Yeah.
us if we're in this like heightened state, but we don't
Yes.
really know it.
Yes. Oh, you said a whole lot of things there. I love it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things I want to respond to. Yes, to the full feel the full spectrum of emotions. I use the analogy a lot as a doula, of course. Just having to practice in labor. My midwife shared with me, and I share it to my clients. When the contraction comes, when the wave comes, you have to lean in. Like you have to
Mm,
lean in and learn to ride the wave. There's no it's counterproductive to what we're working for to try to resist and
mm,
go against the wave.
yeah.
I think that's true with emotions. Like I think there's so many times where something uncomfortable is coming and it's like I don't want to feel this, and so
Hmm.
we like stuff it or suppress it or run away. And or there's a fear there, like if I lean into it I'm going to get stuck. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
things, but it is so beneficial for us to learn to feel our feelings and to lean into those sensations. And no, they're not fun, they're not always comfortable, but the thing is they will pass. Like I love there's a quote from a book called Burnout, and they use the analogy that emotions are like tunnels, and that we have to go through them to get to the light at the end.
Mm,
And I just think we all need to be given permission, be given some courage to be willing to go through the tunnel, to go through that which is uncomfortable, because there is an end to it and there is a beauty and a light on the other side. We don't have to reject it, we don't have to resist it.
yeah.
But we're not taught to do this. And I think I was telling you in our upfront
Hmm.
conversation, there's a quote from I love Brene Brown, and she has a thing called the Wholehearted Parenting Manifesto. And in her manifesto, it's like a promise that she makes to her kids, like, here's who I'm going to be as a parent. And one of the lines says basically, you know, I'm going to want to take away your pain, but instead I will teach you
Mm,
how to feel it. And that's the kind of
that's a
parent.
good word.
It's a such, isn't it? I want to be that kind of parent. I want to be the kind of parent that teaches my children
Yeah.
how to be present with their emotions, because emotions exist in the body, not the mind. So just like you said, we look for those sensation and those feeling words, those body tangible words,
Hmm.
sometimes to describe what we're going through, because the emotions, we can make sense of them in our mind, but they actually exist as a whole thing in the body.
Hmm.
But I want to be that kind of parent that teaches my children to be present with what they're feeling, that it's okay to feel the tingle. It's okay to feel like you're not breathing. It's okay to feel like your shoulders are tightened and you're up
Mm,
here. It's okay to feel like your toes went numb, whatever it is. Because I want them to know we don't have to run away from that. We can lean into that, be present what we're feeling, and we will move through the tunnel. There is relief on the other side. We don't have to try to escape it. But we live
hmm.
in a culture, going back to a previous question, we live in a culture of numbing. We live in a culture of
Yeah.
wanting to escape and run away. And so, we have the tendency of, oh, I don't want to feel this. Go drink the alcohol. I don't want to feel this. Go have sex. I don't like how this feels. Go, binge out on a show.
Hmm.
And, sure, those can work for a time, but they're actually, again, counterproductive to the place you're actually trying to go. It's the same thing as someone in labor trying to run away from a contraction.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay, now before we walk through a body practice, which I'm super excited about, can we make this distinction between listening to your body and how we act or behave? Because that's another thing I've heard. Sometimes people are like, I don't want to listen to my body because then I got to do XYZ. And I think sometimes there's this like people see them as one
Mhm.
versus separate things.
Mhm. Yeah, I talk to my son about this a lot. He is very emotionally demonstrative. So, he'll get really angry and you'll see his body kind of start to shake in his face. And we always talk about the emotion itself. What you're feeling in your body is not, like you said, not good or bad. It's just, it is what it is. It just
Hmm.
exists. But there's going to be a way that we can display that that's going to either be helpful or harmful. And so I talk to him a lot about you know demonstrating or expressing this emotion in a way that's not harmful to himself, to others, or to property.
Mm,
So
okay.
there is a distinction between the outward expression and how you let it out versus what you're actually feeling. So the body is telling a story and we want to listen to that story, and we want to be present with our body to notice, okay, I recognize that, like when I get nervous or scared, my heart rate elevates and I stop breathing deeply. I kind of breathe more
Mm,
shallow, or I just stop. I notice, like, Danielle, you're not breathing, so I'll take a deep breath.
mm,
So I want to be present with that, and then be really intentional and mindful about what then comes next. But the thing that comes next is different from me being present and aware of what I'm feeling. But that's
Yeah.
where I think we need that pause to actually go, okay, I'm present. I'm gonna stay here for a moment and let myself feel it. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna do whatever, and then what is a healthy way to let this emotion move through me, or what's a healthy way for me to move through this emotion? And that can look like a lot of different things. I just saw a post on Instagram a few weeks ago, and it was talking about like the benefit of throwing an adult tantrum. And I was like,
Mm.
yes, thank you for validating, because there have definitely been times where like my kids have left the house, I'm just like, "Rah!" And
Yeah.
I just scream, like, you're irritated or you're frustrated, whatever. And I'm not breaking dishes and like causing damage to property. But I am giving my body a chance to let that stuff move, because otherwise it's going to get stuck in there. And that's when you become like
Mm.
a backed up pipe, and then you're going to explode at
Yeah.
at the tiny, what's the phrase, at the straw that breaks the camel's back, like you're going to
Mhm.
explode. So we have to, I think, learn to be present what's going on, and then differentiate or delineate that from the action steps that I then take afterwards.
So good. Okay. I'm ready. I don't know if the people are ready, but I'll let you set this up and walk us through a practice that you have prepared for us.
Yes. Okay. I get to walk you through. I won't. It's just a short practice, a couple of minutes. I will say that, and it's a practice to help us connect with our body. One, it's going to be a hybrid practice. It'll have elements of what's called a five senses body scan, where we just notice the world around us with our five main senses. And then there's going to be an element called a mental massage. So I'll explain how to do it when we get there. But the purpose of a mental massage is that it actually clears up neural pathways in the body, which strengthens your prefrontal cortex, which actually makes you better at listening to your body. Because so often, if we haven't, really made this pathway where I know how to be aware of my right big toe, then I'm not going to notice it when you ask me how I'm feeling in my body. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
So this mental massage practice is so great with literally just strengthening your awareness muscle and clearing up neural pathways in the brain. So my hope is that as we do this practice, you will feel a downshift in your nervous system. You might not feel like you've moved all the way down to like a rest and digest homeostasis type baseline, but my hope is that how you feel now, you feel some type of downshift towards calm, towards rest at the end of our practice. So to begin, I invite you, wherever you're seated, you can stay seated, or if you're like, I want to lie down, go lie down, get comfortable. And I want to invite you just here at the beginning to bring your awareness to your body and notice if there's any small adjustments that you can make to be a little bit more comfortable. If you have covers on top of you, is a big toe sticking out? Do you want to cover that toe? Do you want to put both your feet on the earth to feel more grounded if you're seated? So just take a moment to consider. And then here, let's begin to deepen the breath. Take a deep inhalation through the nostrils, and open mouth, sigh it out. And do two more just like that. Now seal your lips and continue breathing deeply in and out your nostrils. And then we'll breathe together just to slow down the heart rate. We'll inhale for 4. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let your breath be what it's going to be. No need to control it. And I'd like for you to taste inside the mouth. Notice what smells are available to you. Notice what you can see. And if your eyes are closed, just become aware of maybe light dancing inside those eyelids. Notice sounds available to you both near and in the distance. And become mindfully aware of your body and space. Notice the air, temperatures, or textures on your skin. Feel the ground or the earth, your chair or floor underneath you. And now we'll move into our mental massage. As I call out various parts of your body, I just invite you to send your awareness to that area and simply notice. So send your awareness to the top of your head. Notice the forehead, the cheeks, the lips, and chin. Notice the neck, the throat, the tops of the shoulders. Notice the upper back, middle back, and low back. Notice the front of your torso, the chest, the waist, and abdominals. Notice the glutes, the pelvis, the hips. Now notice your arms and your hands. Notice the whole of both legs, front, back, upper, lower, and the feet. And then from here, gently begin to bring movement back to your body by taking a deep breath, letting your belly expand. And then from there, inviting other small movements. Maybe you wiggle your toes, maybe you wiggle your fingers. If your eyes were closed, maybe you gently blink them open. Bring yourself back to your space. Take a deep breath. I always end my practices with this final blessing of saying, thank you so much for letting me join you in that practice. The image of God in me sees and honors the image of God in you. May peace be with you. Shalom.
Shalom. Yes. I could lay down.
Yes. That's your nervous system working for you. We celebrate that.
Man, that was good. That was what?
That
5-ish
was,
minutes?
it was five. I went a little over. It was 5 minutes, 27 seconds.
5.5 minutes. What we can accomplish.
It really is amazing what you can do with intentional breathing and with
Mhm.
intentional setting your mind somewhere. I mean, if we were to do that a little bit longer, eventually you can feel like the pulsing and stuff within your extremities sometimes. You can feel,
Totally.
I feel pulsing in my muscles a lot of times. It's just amazing when we turn on that awareness, you
Hmm.
know, to different parts of our body.
Yeah. That was something I noticed even as you were calling out body parts. It was like, oh, like that pulsing that you're
Yeah.
describing. Or I noticed like when you said your forehead, I was like, oh, something feels weird over here
Mhm.
on this side. Like, and I was not feeling that before, but
Right.
just the act of bringing attention to it and slowing down, I think is so
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah, and there's so much we can do with that, right? Tapping into the power of the mind body connection. I mean, you join me in different practices where we will literally tell different parts of our body to relax or to
Mm-hmm.
soften,
Mm-hmm.
and your body responds. So
Yeah,
I just love all that stuff.
I love it. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Now, what encouragement, as we kind of wrap this up, would you give to the person that is maybe like, man, this is a struggle for me to connect with my body? This is unknown territory. Where might they begin? Like, would what we just walked through be a good space to begin, or maybe something else?
Well, honestly, I would encourage first to get underneath it and understand the why behind it. Why is it hard to connect with your body? Because sometimes there's narratives and beliefs and
Yeah.
teachings that make it hard for us to connect with our body. If you believe that your body is this lower, debased, bad thing, it's
Mm,
just the house of sinful, desires, you're not going to want to listen to it. There's going to be a resistance there. So I
yeah.
encourage first starting with what are the narratives underneath it, or it just could be like, oh, I'm just aloof and don't really think about this. So once you can identify the narrative, can you then believe a narrative that says it is a good and powerful thing to connect
Mm,
with my body? And then from
mhm,
there, sure, start with breathe. After that, find a time to breathe, find a time to just do the five senses body scan is so accessible. You can take 60 seconds and just, what do I hear? What do I taste? What do I smell? So there's
mhm,
lots of things we just did in that 5 minutes that you on your own can just take out and do it for 30 seconds, do it for 60 seconds to slowly begin to strengthen that awareness muscle in the brain. But I would start with the narrative behind it, underneath it. Sometimes you might have a disdain for your body, like your relationship to your
mm,
actual body. And so the idea of getting to know this body, and I can relate to that because it's been a journey for me. Like my relationship with my body has grown and transformed a lot over the last probably 7 years. Um, but I didn't like my body. And so I think there's even opportunity in this practice to begin to appreciate and be grateful for your body. Like my body, thank you, feet, for
mm,
holding me up all day. Thank you,
yeah.
joints, for but we don't, again, we live in the West and we don't have a lot of body based, I don't think, practices that we intentionally do to listen to the body in that way. Even exercise sometimes can be non-mindful movement. I'm getting through my
Very true.
reps, but I'm not actually mindful.
Yeah.
Is my core engaged? Am I actually hitting my grip strength? There's a lot of things I could talk about, but I'll pause there.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Now, I ask every guest that comes on for Too Busy, what's something that previously you were like, you know what? I don't have time or energy for this, that now you have decided, I do have time, I do have energy, I am available for this now.
Mhm. Stopping.
Okay.
So it could be stopping, pausing, resting.
Yeah.
I call myself a recovering busybody, and would just be on like that ever or non-stopping treadmill of I have to always be doing, because
Yeah.
I believed a narrative that my identity was tied to my productivity.
Got it.
And I've had to do a lot of work to disconnect that correlation and understand that my identity is not rooted in what I produce. And so it's okay for me to stop. It's
Mhm.
okay for me to rest and to not do. And I'm very aware. I still feel like the hurry or like I
Mm,
still feel that in my body, but it's a practice to go, no, we're gonna just sit. And it's okay that the kitchen might not be all the way cleaned, or like, it's different things, but I am too busy to not stop.
yeah. I love it. Okay, so Danielle, tell the people, where can they find you? Do you have any things coming up that you want to share? All of that.
Yeah, so on Instagram, I am this name here, Danielle.L.Anderson. That's the social media I check mostly. I'm also on Facebook, and that one's a longer name, so it'll be in the follow up information. My website is wellwithdanielle.net. And in the new year, I'm so excited about a lot of different things. I recently launched my wellness coaching options. So I do one-on-one and small group wellness coaching where we go through and create customized wellness plans. And sometimes it looks like us talking, and sometimes it looks like private breath and body work sessions where we're working with the body to make space for something new.
Yeah.
My biggest thing that I'm doing in the spring, I am relaunching my 13-week wellness experience for individuals. It's called B. And throughout those 13 weeks, we meet weekly and I teach different wellness content. and really invite you to join me in this journey of one moment at a time, one day at a time practices to improve our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. So I'm so excited about that relaunching. It starts again in February. So before that, I'm going to host a 5-day challenge in January.
Nice.
So these are just some of the things I have coming up. But would love to support any of you in the wellness space. I also do wellness workshops and experiences for groups. So you can learn more about that on my website. And yes, I am all about your wellness.
Yes, I love it. And there will be a link that I'm dropping in the chat, but it'll also be in the show notes if you're listening or if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are, the links are there. Okay. So I got y'all covered. Danielle, thank you so much. This has been amazing. And my hope is that those of you that are watching or listening, that you would be able to take this even into the holiday season, because I think it's such a busy time and easy to be disconnected from your body. And so thank you again. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us tonight.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, y'all. I hope that you will join me. Listen, next week, Tuesday, is going to be our last Too Busy for this season. I will be here by myself, so no special guests, but I'm going to be talking about healthy boundaries during the holidays. And I've gotten a lot of questions about how do you, have healthy boundaries and be with people for a whole lot of days. And so I'm going to share a few of the things that I've done, a few of the things I've heard other people done to kind of help them manage those healthy boundaries during the holidays. So I hope that you will join me. Until next time, I will see y'all. Peace.